Let's see. There we go. Okay, so now we're doing YouTube and Facebook Live, and sometimes we get a little bit confused. All this simple technology, it should be simple, but sometimes it gets a little more difficult than we make of it. So anyway, long week, but in the next few weeks, we're kind of getting ready to launch our new direction where we're going to be meeting on Sunday mornings, and we're really going to focus a lot of attention on what it takes to build our church, Amazing Love Sanctuary. So we really want to, Pastor Jesse and I really want to encourage you to be a part of that and come down and worship with us, help us grow this church and this ministry. And I'm sure that you're going to be blessed with it. And so starting the first Sunday in July, I don't have that date, but I'm sure somebody will have it. That first Sunday in July, we are going to begin worshiping together at our studio on 2501 15th Street, number 1B, right on just a few doors up from 15th and Central downtown. And we'll be there every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So come and help us grow a church. Help us take this little vision, this little baby church that we have, this vision, and take it from being just a video and Facebook page, and then occasionally on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning where we try to, do something different. But we're going to have a whole different format. That's our goal, and I think you will really appreciate it. I think that the key is that everybody wants to feel like they've gone to church. So we will be doing that. Thank you for those that have supported us financially. Keep those gifts and commitments coming in. They do help us a lot and help us focus on our mission and what we're trying to be and what we're trying to do. So just some thoughts that I wanted to share with you about, one is our commitment to the LGBTQ community. And I think it's to all of our it's our passion, it's who we are, it's what we are, and to sit back and be silent and be quiet is not where we're at. And I think it's important for us to be aware of that. So this last week I was privileged to speak at the state capitol again on LGBTQ issues, and I think those are important for us to keep doing. So we'll keep doing that, and we're not sure what we're going to be doing for Pride, but I know Jess has a couple thoughts and some ideas, and we're going to put our heads together and kind of make something happen out of that. So anyway, I was thinking today about what did I want to share about, and something probably kind of personal. And I think a lot of times as pastors, we fail to do that. We try not to be too personal. We try not to be too vulnerable or too transparent. But that doesn't work for us, because that's not who we are. That's not who I am. And if you spend any time talking with me, doesn't take much for me to bare my heart and bare my soul, and kind of where I'm at and what we've gone through and struggled through. So. But anyway, so I'm going to share some thoughts about what happens when you make a mistake. And we've all done that. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. People all around us make mistakes, little ones, big ones, huge ones. But mistakes always have an impact on us and our psyche and our thought process. And so I wanted to share some thoughts about what that really means for me. So I got Tammy and James on there. Glad you guys are there. So today is going to be just an opportunity for me to say, hey, I'm human and I'm vulnerable, and I just appreciate your continued love and support and kindness, and because we're all going to be in that spot. If we haven't been in that spot before, we're all going to be there. So I was just thinking of a passage of scripture that came to my mind. God is, in Psalm 46, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Though the earth be moved and through the mountains be toppled into the depths of the sea, and the waters rage and foam, and though the mountains tremble at its tumult, that's kind of how I felt a little bit the last couple days. It just seemed like everything was just pouring in and out of control. But the rest of the passage reminds us that God is with us. And so we need to remember that as we work through this. But I wanted to share some thoughts just about where I'm at and what I went through. And I posted on it today in my Facebook pages, but I'm just going to read through that. I always feel like it's better to hear from me and hear my voice and how I feel about it. So. And I'll just kind of work my way through this, and we'll get to the end, and then we'll have some time in prayer. And feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts on there, Tammy or James or whoever else is watching. But I'll start with this: we all make mistakes, and all of us do, no matter who we are, no matter what we do to try to compensate for that and catch that. There's a million things we could do to not make them, but we all make mistakes. And it's hard to remember that when you're in the midst of it, because you feel when you're in that mistake process, or when you've made the mistake, that you are you're by yourself. You feel you can't. It's hard to believe that everybody else has made a mistake when you have made a big one. So we try to avoid them at all costs. I mean, and I'm kind of talking operational stuff right now. And I try. I've got 3 calendars and 2 calendars, and I try a calendar on my computer, and I try a handwritten calendar, and I try notes, and I've got sticky pieces of paper all over my desk to remind me of things. And everything I try to do to avoid making mistakes, you're always going to stumble through that in life. So we try to avoid them at all costs, because we all know, every one of us, that when it comes to pain, when it comes to mistakes, there's pain and there's a price to pay. Sometimes it's a very small price, and sometimes it's a big price, and sometimes it's all perception. It's all what we think up here. Some people make huge mistakes. It costs them their jobs. It costs them their reputations. It costs their driving records. I remember years ago when I was pastoring a church in Minnesota, and I was driving around, kind of like a circuit minister, doing helping in 3 different churches, as well as the church I was at in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. And I was always speeding, and you're speeding from one service to the next service. And of course, I got a whole bunch of traffic tickets, speeding tickets. And I remember when I had to go to court. And so sitting in front of the judge as a young minister, young pastor, and trying to explain why I was, had so many tickets. And I remember the judge saying, it doesn't matter. You are a person. You should be an example, and I'm going to take away your driver's license for a whole year. And that was devastating. It messed up my driving record for a long time, having my driver's license suspended. And they didn't take it that day. And I remember going home thinking, oh, I got it made. They didn't take my driver's license. And a few days later, the knock on the door came, and it was the State Patrol in Minnesota, and they came to collect my driver's license. So that was pretty devastating for me, because it had a real impact on my job and the people around me. So, but anyway, so this past week I made a huge mistake on my calendar, and I had this gut feeling all week telling me, you need to check on this, you need to check on this, you need to figure this out. And I just couldn't, and I just kept putting it back, and I kept thinking, no, I'm okay. And I made a huge mistake and missed a very important appointment. And I kept thinking in my mind, well, it couldn't be my fault. It has to be their fault. We're all going to make mistakes. So I think the most important thing is to focus on our intentions, our moral compasses. We can try to do our best, but the truth is, and we all know it, we're never going to be perfect. And there's nothing harder on somebody than the person that's trying to be perfect in every aspect of their life and they realize they're not. Have you ever seen a gymnast in the Olympics or working towards the Olympics, and and they slip off of a balance beam or off of a uneven bar, and it's painful to watch because we know that that person trained for their entire life, hours and hours from the time they were a child to the time that they would compete, and here's that one mistake and they messed up. And no matter how hard we practice, we're going to trip up, and we have to accept that in life. We have to somehow pull ourselves together, pick up the pieces after that one reminder. And what it really does is it reminds us that we're human. It reminds us that we're fallible. We're going to make mistakes, and we have to piece together our egos and deal with all kinds of emotions when they affect us and they hit us. And the emotions can be from just being kind of embarrassed a little bit to feeling bruised, to feeling angry at yourself for making that mistake. And we can feel upset because we don't want anybody judging us based on the mistakes that we make in life. The truth is, all of us want to be loved and accepted, and mistakes in our lives make us feel like we're unlovable. It makes us feel like we're flawed, and we forget in the midst of that mistake that everybody has been there before, and every one of us will be there again. So I've made mistakes in my life. You've made mistakes in your life. So I made this mistake with my schedule, and when it was brought to my attention, I was sitting at the home of my co-pastor, Pastor Jesse, and I realized was brought to my attention that I was the one who blew it. And I was so angry with myself that I just jumped up and stormed out of her house, and I wanted to run. I wanted to hide. I wanted to cut everybody off from my life for that day. I wanted to embrace and own those feelings of failure. And the one who I didn't mean to hurt, I did hurt. And thankfully, Jesse's more gracious and accepting and loving, and she offered that to me. She told me to go breathe. She texted me and said, "You need to go breathe." And then she gave me probably the best piece of advice, the one that I liked the most, and that was go get a piece of pie. She knows how much I like pie. If you're trying to get back on the right track and move past mistakes, I came up with some tips that stood out in my mind. Because I wrote this yesterday in the midst, and I'm sitting there quiet and silent and in my own little world, licking my own wounds, saying, how could I have done this? How could I have missed this appointment? How could I have screwed this up so badly? I was so afraid of everything that I had done. It just because we work so hard to not make mistakes. And so I thought about these little things last night before I wrote this stuff this morning. And the first one is to remind yourself that you are a good person and you do a lot of good in the world. It's what your goal is, what your heart is. That's what you're trying to be. So you messed up big time. Maybe it was in a relationship with a spouse or a friend or somebody that means a lot to you. Maybe it's a little thing that just is between you and yourself and God and nobody else knows, but it's a mistake. Well, remind yourself that you're not the worst person in the world. Remind yourself that it's a mistake. Don't let it consume your mind and eat away at your ego, and learn how to let go of those thoughts and let go of that mistake. Because once it happens, there's nothing you can do. It's there. It's in existence. It happened. People can be angry. People can be upset. You can be mad at yourself, but those things happen. So remind yourself that you are a good person and that you are doing a lot of good in the world. Realize that you are a wonderful individual with so much to offer the world, and that you have great talents and have had other successes, other situations in your life where you didn't make a lot of mistakes, and so focus on those parts, the parts of you that you like, and let those thoughts engulf you. Or like Pastor Jesse said, go get a piece of pie. That's always good. Makes you feel better. Number two, know that all good things come to an end. We say that, it's a pretty common saying, but you know what? So do the bad things. So do the mistakes that we make. They all come to an end. The pain won't last forever. Everything is temporary, including the aftermath of that mistake. And especially if you're living in it right now. And that's how I felt yesterday. I was living in it. It defined me. It consumed me. It was my identity, this mistake. And I lived with it for 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. Is there a lesson you can learn from this? Yes. You could pick up the pieces and say, okay, I've got to get on top of all this so that I understand what happened in my life. Focus on that. This will help you avoid similar mistakes like that in the future. For me, it's scheduling. I'm terrible with the calendar. I've tried every possible type of calendar, and I just, there's always some way that I'm going to be confused in the whole situation. So keep that in mind. All those, even the bad things, come to an end. And someday you'll look back and you'll laugh on the situation. I hope not, because it's not funny. It was something. It was, I missed an appointment, and it really, it affected me. It affected Jesse. It affected everybody that had something to do with this meeting that we were supposed to be at, or I was supposed to be at. And thankfully, I have an incredible co-pastor and business partner who jumped up and fixed it. And so I don't know when I'll be ready to make a joke about it, but it's not funny. The third one is avoid the urge to dwell on the mistake. Dwelling on your mistake only leaves you feeling depressed and helpless. This last week I spoke on the steps of the state capitol after the Masterpiece Bakery decision. And it was a real privilege to be asked to address that situation and address that issue from the point of being an ally in the LGBTQ community. But I made two mistakes in the speech, in the words that I used, and there were television stations there and recording and things like that. And I always, having been a public speaker and a preacher for so long, I realized that you can't be perfect all the time, especially if you are going to stray from your notes and be a little more spontaneous. You can make some mistakes, and I kind of did that. Yeah, I followed a black pastor from Shorter AME Church, and man, he was exciting and he was powerful. So that's not my preaching style, but I definitely tried to do that, and it kind of backfired on me. But I didn't dwell on it, so I made another. To me, it could have been a huge mistake, but I after it was all over, I thought, well, you know what? I got the message out. People heard, and it was an incredible opportunity to be there. And one of the television stations even used my speech as the background for their report. So that was kind of neat. But don't dwell on the mistake. It can help you move forward and actually help you be better and do better. Give yourself your permission to take your mind off of it. So, focus on that you can move beyond that. Even in the moment of the mistake, even the moment of the crisis, you can move beyond that. And the idea is that it helps us avoid similar mistakes like that in the future. And who knows, someday you might be able to laugh about the situation. The third one, I think I started that again. Don't dwell on the mistakes. It'll only leave you feeling depressed and helpless. Give yourself permission to take your mind off of it. Here's some good ideas. Take a moment, take some time, get lost in an inspirational book, scripture, pray, meditate, find a quiet place. I went and sat by Sloan's Lake and just looked at the water for a while and was like, man, how did I do this? Crank up your stereo, belt out the words of your favorite song, watch your favorite movie. One of the pieces of advice that Jesse gave me was breathe. And you have a loving friend when they tell you to go get a piece of pie. So as more time passes, and I'm not there yet, you'll realize that your mistakes are not ruining your life, and that it's okay to be happy again. It's okay if you allow yourself that moment of frustration and anger at yourself, but you can't dwell in there. You can't stay in there. You can't get sucked into that, because to live in that is a painful place to be. The fourth one is take it one day at a time. Take it one day at a time when you make those mistakes. Over time, all of our efforts add up. I know that today one of my goals is I'm going to sit with my files of events and things that I'm supposed to be at and make sure they're on my calendar, make sure I'm getting notified, make sure I'm on top of all that, because you learn from that and go, I'm never going to let that happen again. You work on correcting the situation and you realize that things will be better in the future. Things will fix themselves. Things will come out. However you need to resolve them, they will come out and be better. The fifth one, which I think is really the most important one for all of us, is to, in the midst of that, to be grateful. Focus on the things that you are grateful for, your home, even some of your possessions, the things that bring you pleasure and joy. Think about the people that you're grateful for that are in your lives, whether they're your family or your friends. The people in your life that love you unconditionally. And it's extremely difficult to be grateful for something and feel angry or down at yourself at the same time. So I can't be grateful for someone and thankful for someone and be angry at the same time. And so I'm thankful for people and friends that really came to me and that yesterday and kind of helped me get through that. Replace your self-pity with thoughts of gratitude, and feel the joy that comes over you when you have those thoughts of gratitude. We all have a lot of things to be grateful for. Grateful for people that love us, care for us, support us, people that take us through the most difficult times in our lives. And I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that, for the people that I work with, people that mean a lot to me. Thankful for good friends and family that listened to me yesterday and didn't judge me too harshly. So I want to close with a couple thoughts. Remember, everyone makes mistakes. Even pastors, even ministers make mistakes. It's good to be open and vulnerable and transparent about those moments and times when we make mistakes. Even the most successful people have made a lot of mistakes in their lives. We can learn from them. And when you can, and when you're ready, the pain of those mistakes is temporary. So here's what happens when you put it all together. When the successes come, you look back at your mistakes and you laugh with triumph, knowing that those mistakes helped you get where you are today. And I realize that. And that the mistakes, even the mistakes that I've made in my past, or mistakes I've made even recently, helped me get to where I'm at today. It's not the first time I've made mistakes with my calendar and scheduling events, and usually I've been able to rush between the two. Another mistake I made this week, I was supposed to meet a bride and groom at a place called Daniels Park for their wedding rehearsal, and I went to the wrong Daniels Park because there's 5 of them listed on Google Maps, and I was at the Daniels Park in Lakewood, and they were at the Daniels Park in Castle Pines. So yeah, I had a week of mistakes, and they were, some of them I was able to fix and catch, and one big one I wasn't. Thankfully, Pastor Jesse was there to fix it and catch it. Thank you to everybody who's kind of stuck with me through that, and I will endeavor to do better with my schedules and the events that I have in my life, because it does have an impact on people. And especially when you feel like this is my life, people is my life, caring about people, loving people, being there for people is what drives me, and it's my passion. So anyway, that's my talk today about mistakes, and I hope it was a blessing to you, and hope it encourages you. We're all going to make mistakes, and we want to make sure that we're able to support each other in the midst of those mistakes. Let me close with a prayer. Lord, we want to serve you in the love that we show each other. Teach us to embrace each person made in your image. Teach us to embrace each person with all of our flaws and our mistakes, our insecurities, our struggles, our pain. Teach us to learn how to love each other and how to love ourselves. Teach us how to love unconditionally, accept unconditionally, and forgive unconditionally. And I thank you for all of our friends and all those who care about us. Amen. So that's today, Sunday in June 9th. And I think it's June 9th. But anyway, I hope you have a great week. We have a lot of stuff coming up. Stay with us. Stick to our Facebook page and all the things that we're trying to do. And then we're going to be now laying out a plan for the first Sunday in July, and we want to make sure that you're there with Pastor Jesse and myself and the team, people that are putting this Amazing Love Sanctuary together. So you are a blessing to us, and we care about you, and you are in our hearts and our minds and our prayers every single day. If you need us, call us. If we can pray for you, let us. If you have a prayer concern, a prayer thought, let us know. Don't forget to share this Facebook live video, and you'll hear more from us in the next few days. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great day. Have a good Sunday. Bye.